Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into the thick of it today, really dissecting the starting grid for the 2025 Formula One Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah, we've got the official lineup, basically hot off the press.
Exactly, and some really insightful analysis on how qualifying actually played out. Our mission, well, it's to make sense of who's starting where, what were those pivotal moments in qualifying that actually landed them there.
And what it all signals for the race you're about to watch.
Precisely.
We're not just reading out names and times, we're pulling apart the performances, the strategies.
The real story behind the grid.
Exactly. We've got the timing sheets, driver, car, best lap. But maybe more importantly, we're digging into the expert commentary that explains the nuances.
Right, the driver skill, car behavior, those tiny, tiny fractions of a second.
Yeah, they make all the difference. So look, if you want the inside track on the Miami Grand Prix without getting, totally bogged down in data,
Then you've tuned into the right place.
Yep.
Okay, let's get right to it. The sharp end of the grid. Max Verstappen, Red Bull Racing Honda RBPT, that's Red Bull powertrain.
Yep.
He's locked in pole position. A blistering 1.26.204. Okay, maybe not a huge shock.
well, no, not on the surface, but the fractions behind him, that's where the story gets really interesting.
Absolutely, just a hair's breadth behind him. What is it? 0.065 seconds.
Just 65,000th. That's Lando Norris in the McLaren Mercedes.
I mean, in F1 terms, that's basically the blink of an eye.
It really is. It just highlights how incredibly tight it was right at the very front.
And then, okay, this is maybe the big story.
Yeah.
Right on Norris's gearbox.
The rookie.
Kimi Antonelli, the 18-year-old in the Mercedes. He clocked a 1.26.271.
Which is only 2,000ths of a second slower than Norris. 2,000ths.
It's incredible. What an achievement for such a young driver.
Oh, it really is. Antonelli's whole qualifying actually was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
To be that close, I mean, P3 in such a fiercely contested session, it speaks volumes about his raw talent and maybe the Mercedes itself.
And the car, right. What's fascinating, you mentioned telemetry.
Yeah, the data suggests Antonelli had a significant advantage in straight line speed compared to his rivals.
So that Merc is quick on the straights.
Seems like it. That clearly played a role in his time.
Okay, so Antonelli P3. Then we have the second McLaren, Oscar Piastri, starting fourth, 1.26.375. Now, the analyst commentary we've got here notes that Piastri, and I quote, died a little in qualifying and allowed Antonelli to slip ahead. What does that mean exactly?
Well, the analyst's take seems to be that while Piastri didn't make any huge, obvious errors.
Right, no big lockups or anything.
No, nothing like that. But he wasn't quite able to string together that perfect lap right when it mattered most. Maybe tiny hesitations, lines just slightly off.
And Antonelli was just on it.
Exactly. Antonelli was clearly on a very strong lap, and he just capitalized. It just underscores how crucial absolute precision is at this level. Hundredths decide these things.
Tiny imperfections, huge consequences.
Got it.
And rounding out the top five, George Russell, the other Mercedes, 1.26.385.
So look at that. Verstappen, Norris, Antonelli, Piastri, Russell. The top five separated by just over a tenth of a second.
That is incredibly close.
It really is. And that kind of tight grouping, it doesn't just promise an exciting start.
No.
It suggests strategy, driver errors, even the smallest ones, they're going to be massively amplified throughout the whole Grand Prix.
Okay, let's dive into some of those key moments then. Verstappen, he mentioned pushing hard on that final lap.
Yeah.
Said he gained time on Norris, particularly through turn one and on the straights.
And he also felt Norris's slight mistake right at the end, turn 17.
Yeah, that cost Lando pole.
That's what Max thought, and the data seems to back that up. Verstappen's entry into turn one was apparently really strong.
Carried more speed through that first part of the lap.
Seems like it. And Norris himself, he kind of admitted it, didn't he? Said pole was within reach.
But pushed a bit too hard over the curve at 17.
Yeah, disrupted his momentum, cost him those vital fractions. It's just, testament to those razor-thin margins.
And Antonelli, like we said, just a stellar session all around.
Absolutely. The analyst was clearly impressed, highlighting that straight-line speed again, especially when you compare him to Piastri on the data traces.
Right. And we should remember, he also got pole for the sprint race earlier.
Good point. So this speed, it's definitely not just a flash in the pan. He's genuinely quick this weekend.
For an 18-year-old, third year of competitive motorsport at this level.
It's remarkable maturity, remarkable pace. The analyst's surprise kind of underlines how exceptional it was against all these seasoned guys.
Okay, switching back to the other McLaren, Piastri. His performance was described as a bit.
Well,
up and down.
yeah, the analyst said something like, no huge mistakes, but not quite delivering that perfect, cohesive lap.
Right. But here's an interesting nugget. Piastri was actually faster than Norris in the final sector.
Oh, that is interesting, that third sector pace.
What does that tell us about the McLaren?
Well, it suggests the raw speed, the aero grip. It's definitely there in the car.
Yeah.
But the challenge seems to be consistently extracting it across all three sectors. Maybe the car has a really narrow operating window, needs incredibly precise driving, what some people call a bit of a diva.
Yeah, a diva car. Moving down the grid a bit then, Carlos Sainz, Williams Mercedes, starts 6th.
Yep, 1.26, 0.569.
And his teammate, Alex Albon, right behind him in 7th, 1.26.682. Albon sounded really pleased.
Yeah, he called it his best qualifying lap for Williams in a long time and pointed out he was only 0.3 off pole.
That is a huge step for Williams.
Oh, definitely. Albon being that happy, that close to the front, it shows real, tangible progress for the team.
And shows Albon can really wring the neck of that car in one lap.
Absolutely. Good for morale over there, I'd imagine.
Now, for maybe the biggest surprise further back, Lewis Hamilton, Ferrari, P12.
Yeah, wow. 1.27.006. Didn't make Q3.
And the analyst pointed out this is the first time Hamilton's failed to make Q3 since he joined Ferrari. That's pretty significant.
It really is. And apparently Russell in the Mercedes managed to pull out a lap right at the end of Q2.
Effectively bumping Lewis out.
That's the story, yeah. Hamilton himself didn't really pinpoint a specific issue from what we have here, but yeah, starting P12 in modern F1, that makes for a much harder race. Strategy's already compromised.
Definitely. Okay. And there are a whole raft of comments from other drivers too, right? Lots of mentions of messy laps.
Yeah, Russell mentioned it. Hulkenberg, too. Suggests a lot of drivers were pushing right to the absolute limit, maybe even a bit beyond.
Makes sense. Gasly and Alonso both sounded disappointed with their pace.
Although Alonso did find it a bit weird he was in the top 10 earlier in the weekend because he didn't feel that quick.
Odd. And then you've got Oliver Bierman, Haas Ferrari, starting dead last, P20.
Yeah, 1.27.999. Tough session for him.
Gabriel Bortoleto and the Kick Sauber apparently felt good in practice.
But struggled in quali. Sounded like a battery issue might have hampered him.
Okay. Jack Doohan, Alpine, frustrated not to make Q3, felt it was his best lap. It really highlights those fine margins again.
It does. All these comments, they just paint a picture of the intense pressure, all the different factors. A small mistake, a technical glitch, track conditions.
It can change everything.
Exactly. It's a high-stakes game. Everything needs to be perfect for that one lap.
What about Liam Lawson? He said something cryptic about the car being a surprise.
Yeah, always a surprise what the car will do. Doesn't exactly fill you with confidence, does it?
Not really. Hulkenberg, we mentioned his messy final corner cost him Q2.
While his teammate, Hajar, just scraped through into Q2.
Right. Esteban Ocon, the other Haas, improved to 9th. And he's actually hoping for rain.
Yeah, 1.26.824 for Ocon. Wants to fight for points, sees rain as maybe an equalizer.
Interesting. And Yuki Tsunoda, second Red Bull racing car, made Q3, finishes P10.
1.26.943, though he felt there was more potential there.
And finally, Lance Stroll, Aston Martin, way down in P19.
Yeah, 1.27.830 suggests the team's still searching for performance improvements.
Okay, so let's step back. The broader picture. Analyst takeaways from this quali session. Big one. McLaren potentially has the best car right now.
Yeah, highest performance ceiling, maybe. But they seem to be struggling to consistently nail those perfect quali laps.
And the analyst called the car a diva.
That's the word used, yeah. It suggests that while it's got huge potential speed, it's maybe very sensitive. Setup, track conditions, driver inputs, needs everything just right.
Like a high-strung instrument.
Exactly. Perfect harmony, incredible results, slightly off, performance drops. That inconsistency in qualifying could be a theme for them.
Okay, conversely, the analyst really praised Verstappen's consistency.
Oh yeah, his ability to just extract the absolute maximum even when the Red Bull isn't clearly the fastest car on track.
Called him a robot. Yep.
Highlighting that almost error-free execution under pressure. And what does that mean for the championship? Well,
it means he's incredibly hard to beat over a season.
That's it. That unwavering consistency, it's his trademark. Even when they don't have the outright pace advantage, he delivers near-perfect laps, near-perfect races. The robot thing, it just emphasizes that mental strength, that precision. It's invaluable.
And the analyst also touched on well, the unpredictable nature of this season so far.
Right, and the possibility that McLaren could rack up big points, especially if Red Bull faces, any internal challenges or struggles with their own car's consistency.
And they pointed out the standings, right?
Yeah.
Piastri leading currently.
Yeah, kind of surprising. Piastri leads, then Norris, then Verstappen in third.
Which is fascinating, given Max's quality record.
It really is. It underscores the opportunities McLaren have had and maybe will continue to have if they can just iron out those qualifying inconsistencies.
Okay, and the final big question from the analyst. Does anyone on the grid right now have that consistent mental strength, the execution, to really challenge Max for the title?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
They mentioned Norris's perceived mental fragility, maybe, under pressure.
And Piastri still developing, relatively inexperienced at the absolute sharp end.
Right.
It's a huge hurdle. Raw speed is one thing, but performing week in, week out under that intense pressure, that's something else, especially against someone as consistently brilliant as Verstappen.
So looking ahead to the race itself then, key takeaways from the grid, potential scenarios. Start's critical, obviously. Norris right there.
Oh, the run to turn one will be absolutely pivotal. If Lando gets a clean launch, gets alongside Max.
We could have an immediate battle.
Exactly. Given how close they were in quali, the start is the first big chance to gain an edge.
And the analyst raised that question mark over Antonelli. Race pace, consistency over a full distance.
Yeah.
He's still a rookie?
Yeah, qualifying speed is one thing, but managing tires, dealing with strategy calls, maintaining focus for 50-odd laps, it's a completely different challenge.
Steep learning curve.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially compared to the guys around him. That lack of experience is something to watch.
Okay, and Ocon mentioned rain. Possibility in Miami.
Always a possibility there. And rain, well, it just throws everything up in the air, doesn't it?
Levels the playing field a bit.
It can do, yeah. Negates some car differences, opens doors for drivers good in the wet or teams willing to gamble on strategy. Ocon, starting P9, would probably welcome it.
And Hamilton, key 12. What does that mean for his race?
Well, it means a fight through the pack, basically, which is always risky. Strategy becomes absolutely key for Ferrari.
Trying to salvage something.
Yeah, maybe aggressive tire calls, hope for a safety car to bunch things up. It's damage limitation, really, from there.
So overall, then, the expectation is maybe a three-way fight at the front. Verstappen, the two McLarens.
Yeah, that seems plausible based on qualifying, with that big question mark hanging over Antonelli.
How will he perform?
Exactly. Does he challenge, or does the lack of experience mean he fades a little? He's the wild card.
Okay, let's wrap this deep dive up then. We've seen Max Verstappen snatch pole, thrilling quali session.
Super tight with the McLarens of Norris and Piastri right there.
The young gun, Kimi Antonelli, stunning performance, starts P3.
And further back, the big story, maybe Lewis Hamilton struggling, starting outside the top 10.
Plus a whole host of drivers battling hard, facing their own challenges, trying to find that perfect lap.
So you should now have a really solid understanding of the Miami Grand Prix starting grid and, the key moments that actually shaped it.
We've looked at that intense pole battle, the rookie's amazing showing, the unexpected struggle.
Yeah, all the ingredients are there.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. McLaren have shown the pace, definitely, but maybe they're still searching for that final piece of qualifying execution.
While Verstappen just keeps delivering under pressure.
So, is Sunday going to be another showcase of his relentless consistency? Or can the McLarens finally convert that speed into a Grand Prix win?
And what about Antonelli? How does the youngster handle the pressure, the opportunity of that front row start when the lights go out?
We'll all be watching to find out. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.